What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another therapy in the details. I said when I started this that I was going to promise myself to not let too many videos elapse, too much time elapse between the filming and posting of these videos. I wasn't going to let excuses get in the way. So I'm trying to stay true to that promise and force myself to do videos. And I guess the good and bad of that is when you're forcing yourself to do these videos, you're forcing yourself to think more about you're forcing yourself to focus more on what you're thinking about, focus more on what bothers you, focus more on what has happened and what is happening, so that, personally, when I say you, I mean me, focusing on that so that I can deliver some kind of value here or get a point across if I ever do that. I think a lot about regret, and I get so upset at myself. I get upset at myself because I focus on things that I regret, and it's so silly, and I am so not a fan of regrets. I am so the opposite of wanting to have regrets. I think regrets and having regrets is crazy. I think that when you go through life, you either win or you learn, but you can't dwell on the past, and you have to come to some kind of agreement in your mind. Like your brain and your heart need to come to terms with the fact that what happened is done. There's no fixing it. You can't sit there and dwell on things. So the point of today's video is about regrets. The last video I made was about me not being able to take compliments, but I haven't talked about regret yet. And I feel like I have to do videos sometimes that aren't just me, and that are things that, can broadly be understood. Regret is a universal thing. I feel like everybody has it. I have so many things that have happened where you could tie regret into. I will talk about some of the things that I could have regret for, that I have had regret for, and then I guess kind of sort of how I've dealt with that mentally, how I've navigated that craziness, so that I have myself on a path now where I feel like I'm truly looking away from having the regret situation, So, the whole transparency thing. Let's talk about some of my regrets, or things that I've had regrets about. I had a big regret about not going away to college. I had been accepted to a few colleges when it was time, and a few of them were out of state, and a couple were local. The plan was that I was going to go out of state, and, then my mother got sick, and, I did miss out on the experience of going out of state to college and trying to find myself. But like I said with the regret thing, right, I found a different me, because when I stayed here, she wasn't really sick at the time. This is when she first started having things. If you look back at one of the first videos when I started talking about stuff, they had found a thing called a nodule on one of her lungs, and she had to have what's called a lobectomy, and they cut like a third, or I forget the exact percentage, of one of her lungs off. At that time we didn't know what was going on, but I knew my mother, and I knew her biggest fear. She was a hypochondriac to the 10th power. I knew one of the biggest fears that she had was cancer. So, at the time we didn't know what it was. They just said it was a nodule, which is, a mass. But they didn't tell us whether or not they thought it was cancerous. So there was a lot I could talk about that, about the mishandling and misinformation about her diagnosis about that. But anyway, let's not have regrets on that either. But I didn't go away. I stayed, and what happened by me staying is I learned more about me becoming a man and being there for my mother and stepping up to take that role of the head of household and being a good leader and a good role model to people around me, So that's one thing that I could have had regret on. The other thing about that, oddly enough, if I would have went away to college, I wouldn't have met my wife. I would have probably been away from here and maybe fell in love with somebody else, which by default means I wouldn't be married to the person I'm married to today, which I'm happily married. I wouldn't have had the two most amazing gifts God and my wife or anybody in the world could have given me and my kids. I wouldn't have had Savannah and Matthew. I wouldn't have had the two single most amazing things that keep me going. So, imagine. Like, I can't imagine that. Another thing you could think about, like if I didn't get a Mopar. I have regretted in the past getting a Mopar. I have regretted specifically the Hellcat. I had the Scat Pack and I was peer pressured by someone. And, one of the funny things about that is the relationship that I made because of that Scat Pack and the person that bullied me into getting the Hellcat is a friendship I'll cherish for the rest of my life. I met someone named Ruben, very cool kid, and he was young at the time, and we grew to be pretty close. So Ruben passed away March of last year, and it was very sudden. He was very young. It was a very tragic thing, but the memories I have in my head and the text messages and the things that occurred when I knew this kid, I swear to God, I'll cherish them for the rest of my life. So, what I'm saying is that you can't, well, you can have regrets, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't have regrets because there's things, like if you don't do things and if things don't happen, if bad shit doesn't happen, there are good things that come from bad. And in my experience, when I've sat in the darkness, when I've been at my lowest, when I felt despair, when I felt the worst, when I felt like I was all alone, when things just looked shittiest, there was always a tiny bit of light somewhere, that like a little pinpoint that I just focused on, and I decided, let me head toward that light. And things always ended up better. Somehow they always ended up better because I tried my goddamn best to keep some sort of positivity and perseverance, and I push. And I know I got that from my mother, and I love her so much for that because she was a single mom. She raised me like crazy. She taught me how to be strong. She taught me how to be, brave. She taught me how to not take shit from anybody. Unfortunately, she taught me how to not have a filter, which, is a good or bad thing. I don't have regrets for that either, but, it's a hit or miss with the no filter thing. I guess I want to share one more little thing that could be a regret, and it's probably the closest thing that I'll ever get to actually having a regret. It's when my mother was sick, like full on sick. She was living at the bottom part of our house, and it's because she was in a wheelchair, and it was right before she had a stroke. It was Christmas before I got engaged. I proposed on Christmas Eve to my now wife, and I was downstairs, and I remember it was before Christmas. We had a little Christmas tree set up downstairs. I didn't even put a big one upstairs that year. There was just so much going on between my mother, being paralyzed, and the cancer and the chemo and the treatments and the handicap vans and all the stuff going on. I was downstairs with her, and she was just very tired from the treatments, and she couldn't stay awake a lot, but I was downstairs, and she was in her chair, and she was super comfortable, and, you know, she was in and out sleeping. She would wake up here and there, and I just remember so vividly staring at the Christmas tree, the little Charlie Brown type Christmas tree, just staring at it, and I don't know, man. It's just something I can't get it out of my head. How sad it was, the whole goddamn thing, and you know, she had fallen asleep, and I didn't know if she was gonna wake back up or if she was gonna stay asleep for the night or whatever, because you never know with these things. She could have it was called like a phantom pain or whatever, you know, when she felt something in her leg, even though she couldn't feel in her leg. Sometimes she just wakes up and she can't get back to sleep. I don't know what it would have been, but I wish I would have stayed down there in the couch next to her and just stayed longer, been there in that moment. And if she woke up, she might have glanced and saw me, and I could have like made eye contact with her or something. And you know, like, what if she opened up her eyes and I wasn't there, and I don't know what the hell I was in such a rush to go back upstairs for. I don't know what it was. I don't sleep. I had insomnia for a long time. I wasn't sleeping. So what was the rush? What the hell was the rush? What was so important? You know, I beat myself up over that moment, even though I was there for so many goddamn other things, and it was tough. It was tough. You know, you put in a position, especially when you're a boy, your only child, and you're put in positions when it's your mother, and, you know, there's things about shaving and hygiene and showers and bed sores and changing diapers and Hoyer lifts and all kinds of goddamn things that you'll never get out of your head for the rest of your life. And you sit there and you're like, God damn, man, do I ever want to keep treading on this and have these regrets? Or do I want to just say, I did the best I could, and I get through it. I do realize I did the best I could. And I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. No situation's perfect. Life's not perfect. Nobody's got a perfect life. I don't care who you are. I guess you just got to freaking, I don't know, man. You just got to push through it. But anyway, not to dwell on some crazy stuff and get this way. This wasn't supposed to be like this kind of video, but you just can't have regrets. I can't look, that'll eat me alive if I think too much about that. I have to push through, and I have to, like I said, you have to focus on the good that came from it. I had so many memories of her. I did set that Christmas tree up, even though we didn't have room for a big one in the space that she was in. I did spend tons of time with her. I was there. I was present. I was there for so many things. So I have all of those memories. I'm missing out on something, but there's no going back. I can't go back, so I got to just erase it. It's done, right? Okay. I feel like there aren't many things you can't think yourself into a thought of regret for. It's just, any situation you could think of, like, why you have regret or what I could have done better. You just can't. You beat yourself up. You're never gonna grow as a person. You're never gonna heal from anything. But regrets are poison. They're poison. Fate is powerful. It's real. Things have to happen. There's a natural balance. You know, not to sound like some crazy spiritual guy. I'm really not. I'm not. But I feel like there is a natural balance. There's just things that just happen. They're always going to happen. And your destiny, there is a destiny. It's like we're all heading toward one end, the end zone, right? But the end zone sucks because it's death. It's just, that's it. You know, my dad always said, and I always heard it everywhere else, there's only two things in life that are certain: taxes and death. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no other certainties in life. You can't bank on anything else. Those are two things that are gonna happen. How much you go through with that and how quick death comes, that's, you know, up in the air. You just don't know. That's why you got to live your life. When we used to go down to Georgia, we used to go down every summer when I was growing up. I had family down there, and my dad used to take me for the summer for a couple weeks when I was younger, and there was this lady down there. She was the housekeeper for my uncle, and excuse the language, I'm only gonna say this one time, but her thing that she used to tell our family and has told my dad, and my dad's repeated it forever and ever. It's ingrained in my head. I've always heard it. She always used to say, "Fuck the dumb shit." That was it. That was her famous thing. F the dumb shit. That was what she had. That was like her motto. You know what I mean? It's like, you just think about it. Like, F the dumb shit. Like, who cares? Who cares about that? Who cares about that person? Who cares about that person's idea? Who cares about the fact that I missed this moment? There's so many more moments that I don't want to miss. Who cares if I owned a Mopar and I have regrets? Boo-hoo. You know what I mean? Who cares if I didn't go away to college? I have the amazing life and opportunities and blessings that I have now. Who cares, right? F the dumb shit. It has to be that way. You have to live that way and think that way. Honestly, like, we're all heading toward what's called digital dust. I saw that somewhere else too, digital dust. You know, when we were younger, everything used to be printed, all these pictures, right? All these things on paper. I have all these pictures saved. And some people still do it where they print pictures, but most of us, think about it. Really think about this as the final part of this video. All of our shit is online. We save these things, gigabytes and gigabytes and terabytes and all kinds of crazy things online. Google Drives and photos and this and that, all saved, right? It could be gone in a second. Gone. The world ends, it's gone. Now, physical pictures might survive certain things. Somebody could find that. Somebody could dig up 1,000 years from now and find pictures. Old shit, it's there, it exists, it's there. Computers, a hard drive got wiped out. It's gone. A cloud get wipes out. Google goes out of business, and all the stuff you've had that can't be put anywhere else because there's no other thing. Like, your cloud's gone. What if the cloud's gone? What if it's gone? Where's all your pictures, your memories, everything? Digital dust. It's gone. Like, we're going to be remembered for what? 2, 3 generations, maybe? Remember that movie Coco? Like, that's it. Like, at best, you know, a certain amount of people remember you, and then you're gone. So we gotta not have regrets now. We gotta live for the moment. We gotta make as many memories as possible. You live, you learn, and you go. You just gotta keep it. You gotta keep it moving, baby. You gotta keep the positivity. Don't get caught up in the feels. Don't get caught up in the sadness and the negativity. You know, you gotta say, you know, F cancer. You gotta live a certain life. You gotta try to have thick skin, and you gotta be as strong as possible. You just got to live your life. Whatever life that is, you have to live it. You know, there's going to be curveballs. There's going to be fastballs. Somebody's going to throw a knuckler in there. I never hit a knuckleball before, but you got to be ready for the fact that one could come your way. And if you're ready for the possibility of it, then you'll be in the best possible position for you to hit that knuckleball, to hit that curveball, to hit that fastball out of here. Weird analogy, whatever. Anyway, this video is as long as it needs to be, probably longer than it needs to be, always longer than it needs to be. I'm sorry, but sometimes I just want to talk. And like I always told you, the therapy videos are a lot for you as they are for me, and I'm talking, and regrets, they suck. I don't regret that this video is as long as it's going to be. I'm sorry. I love you guys. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you're an OCD OG, I truly appreciate you. As always, I hope everybody's staying happy, healthy, and humble. Don't have regrets. Love everybody that you're with. Make memories. Be with family. Just live. Don't focus on the digital dust that you're going to become. Focus on the memories that you're going to make, because that's it, man. 2, 3 generations, you're done. You're done. It's gone. Everything's gone. Just live. Don't be illegal. Don't be reckless. Be a good person. Just live. I love you guys.